Hello, hello, So-La-Rah here. I hope you guys are doing well today. Happy Monday. If you're catching this on the day that I actually publish it. If not, happy Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever day you happen to tune into. I hope that you are doing well. I want to welcome you if you are brand new here in these parts. If the title is speaking to you in any way, I invite you to stay and listen to the message coming through and see if there are any messages for you, because I'm sure if the title brought you here, or I kept on showing up on your timeline, that you've been brought here for a reason. So I invite you, if you do find that you resonate with my frequency and the messages I have been divinely sent to share with the collective, I invite you to do the YouTube thing. Like, share, comment, subscribe, ring my bell, ring my notification bell, and you'll find out when I post. Yes, to the rest of you, welcome, whether you have just joined me or whether you've been here from the beginning. You're so welcome here. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your support. Thank you for all the beautiful ways you're healing yourself, because in doing so, you're healing all of us. So I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you. I have so many downloads. Please bear with me. So many downloads. I might actually have to split this video into different parts, like a second part. But if I can get through them all the downloads in this one video, I probably will do my best to do that. Before I even get started, and this goes into the energies I've been picking up, I'm about to share with you. To the person who keeps on coming into my comments, who is now freshly blocked, but you probably are still creeping, and you like to tell me my messages are too long or you don't get what I'm saying, that's not my problem. That's not my problem. I'm not here to please you. The fact that you would come into anyone's comments, public comments on YouTube, and demand in any way that they appeal to your understanding, and to the other person who wrote that was blocked also, that somebody appeal to your faith and your belief system, is narcissism. I'm going to call it out for what it is. It's narcissism. It's the fact that you want to control another person's narrative, or you want another person to exist for your pleasure. I don't exist for you. You coming into my energy is a privilege, okay? Even on YouTube. Don't get it twisted. Alrighty. And with that said, let's get into the downloads, which is actually really about that energy. It would seem that some of my messages from last week have pissed off the monitoring spirits that were lurking here in this here audience, pretending to be divine. And I'm fine with that. Be pissed. I'm here to expose you. Okay? And when I say, we're going to get into this tonight because there's a lot of shape-shifting happening right now. And there's a lot of entity jumping. And there's a lot of entities hopping into the energy of people, even who are divine, who are not protecting themselves and not being fully, taking full responsibility for how these things work and their own woundedness and how they can be used to target other divines. And I'm shutting that shit down here. When I see it, I just block. When I see it, because I don't pay attention to just words. I pay attention to energy. You come to me with disruption and I sense the energy behind it and what it is, and I discern what that energy is, and I don't want that energy in my space, I simply block you. I simply block you, because don't nobody got time for that. And I invite any one of you who have platforms to do the same, because ultimately, and I tell you this as a person who had a platform previously, I had another tarot channel, when you allow these energies through the front door and you entertain them, they get comfortable and they start to bring their friends. So when you discern these energies on your channel, in your comment section, etc., remove them. Remove them. You are here to regulate the energy of your own platform also. Not control people, but to recognize and to understand and overstand that whatever it is that you've been sent divinely to share with the world, you have the right to speak it. And you have the right, when you do that, for others who come into your energy, who click on a video, to respect you too. To respect you too. Because the fact of the matter is, nobody is contracting anyone to stay. If you don't like me, don't stay. I'm not making you stay. You know, in fact, if you don't like me, I don't want you to stay. That's definitely not good for you, being the kind of being I am. You know, it isn't. It's not wise for you to do that for yourself. But I don't want you in my energy anyway. So just, get to stepping. I don't get why people have to leave comments and keep coming back, except unless they're under some kind of entity influence, or they are one of your monitoring spirits, or one of your ops and your watchers. I see you. I see you more than you see me. Okay? So, right now, a lot of shape-shifting entities, big time, especially those from the karmic energies in your life that can no longer get a hold. They can't access you anymore, right? There are certain people in your life who you have, you've put a hard boundary or a barrier between you and them and their ability to access you. Whether you've completely cut them out of your energy or you've given them very limited access on your own terms, it's still not the same like it used to be. You see, once upon a time, you gave these people free reign into your life, into your presence, into your mind. You allowed them to speak over you and to provide their opinions about who you are and your capabilities, etc., etc. And these people were being used by low vibrational entities whose assignments, in this lifetime are to destroy you. And so these entities can't get to you through these people anymore. And so they're looking to find other willing candidates. And so they will always go where you are. So, for example, if you at work, or if you have a platform, or if you're out and about, these entities are desperate and they're using strangers to try to get to you. And we're going to get to how they do that and how you can discern that today. Because I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful because I told you guys months ago, didn't I tell you this? I said, when they come into your energy now, they're coming to expose themselves. That's all they're coming to do at this point. They're coming to tell you all their secrets. When you trolls and monitor spirits come into my energy and start to comment on my board, I discern your spirit, I discern your energy, and I learn more about your tactics. Thank you very much. A round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, these energies are showing up as strangers, but they're holding the exact same energy as someone who either controlled you once upon a time or was an op. They sometimes will even use the same words. They'll use the same words, they'll use the same sentence, but what they definitely will do, even if the words aren't the same, the energy will be the same. Okay? These people who they are operating through, sometimes they're strangers and sometimes they're people you know. And this is why, like I said to you last week, it's really important, divine beings, that we be so aware and alert of our own woundedness, because the divine people who are in your life, whether they're your children, your spouse, your partner, your divine co-creators and friends and soul tribe, these entities, because they can no longer come through karmics, they're trying to come through us towards one another. So this is why that message was coming through so clearly last week, because it is a whole different level of warfare. And these shape-shifting energies and entities, the only way they're going to, die out or not be able to get to you anymore is when their tactics are thoroughly exposed and they flee. When we become so good at the warfare and discerning them that they can't play with us anymore, ultimately. So this is partly what it is that we need to really be fine-tuning in ourselves right now. We need to be serious about it, because they're serious as fuck about being sneaky with us. They're serious as fuck about trying to come into our energy and use our wounds to hide and pretend that we still have issues that we don't, exploit our old wounds, either to be triggered by them so they can get back in, or to be used against another. So we must be very, very aware right now. So these are people who are open to receiving the same entity that has followed you your whole life, because they have something in their hearts against you or what you are saying. That's one way. Or because the entity is seeing the wounding within them and wants to play and magnify that and magnify them and take them into an old persona that was never theirs, in which they will then begin to attack from a place of insecurity because they're not in divine alignment anymore. This is another strategy. They come into your energy. These entities that are operating through people, they come into your energy to try and cause more wounding, right? To attach to unresolved wounding or things that we're still in denial about, or to try and open up an old wound. So those are three of the ways that they're trying to come in. They try to cause more wounding, attach to things you're still working on, or things that if you're not working on them, you're in denial about. They love that because they're looking for a place to hide. What it is that you've already exposed within yourself, they can't hide in that place. If you have an issue, for example, with, low self-worth that is born of all of these jealousy and envy spells that were thrown at you, utilizing the energies of these entities, they will try to come in and attach to that energy. But if you already are aware that that's part of your wounding, that's the part of your inner child that you're still doing the work to heal, and you're not in denial about it, and you're not ashamed about it because you realize it's not even you, it's a program, which is true, a program installed and propagated by these entities. If you realize that, they have nowhere to hide. They like to hide in the areas where you are still hiding stuff from yourself, okay? This is why we're called to just be open about everything, because at the end of the day, the things that we have the most shame about, it's not even us. It's a fucking program placed in us by these entities and these energies and these beings they've used, etc., in order to keep us trapped in personas that have nothing to do with the true integrity of who you are, who we are, who I am as a divine being. That's why there's no shame at all. There should be no shame, right? These people may be strangers to you in the physical, but they're not in the spirit. I'm going to say that to you again. These people who come at you with this energy, they may be complete strangers to you in the physical. Literally just walking past you on the street, never seen this person before, kind of stranger. They're strangers to you in that way, but they're not in the spirit, okay? They come through strangers once you remove every karmic person out of your life and presence. Once the original players and the former mainstay people in your life who those entities were operating through no longer have access, they look for another avenue. Once upon a time, I think I've already said this, once upon a time, certain karmic characters, they had free reign over your energy. They had access. I did say this. When you shut that down, these entities jump and try to find another way to continue their reign of terror over you so that you stay out of divine alignment and you continue to believe the narratives that these entities were sent from the beginning to try and get you to contract yourself to get you to agree with, and then to live. These entities, once upon a time, they had easy and constant access to you to try and destroy and distort your reality. Now they either send certain beings into your presence that they easily can hide behind, or they look to exploit the wounding of those you allow in your energy so that they can do or say subtle things to try and activate old mind control cues. I'm going to say that again because it's really important. They will try to operate through other people in your life, specifically through their wounds, to try and attack you in very subtle ways, utilizing old mind control cues. And we're going to get into this deeper, the mind control cues, because so much opened up. So much has opened up, okay? Okay. You can tell that this is happening. You can tell that this is happening between you and another person who, a stranger or whatever. You can tell that these entities are operating through them because of your visceral response. Your visceral response to them. Not what happens after you think about what they say. So the very interesting thing about this is that some of these entities are so tricky because some of them are operating through religious spirits. And these people who they're operating through are highly contracted to religious spirits. So as such, they've taken on these personas where they are a martyr, or, they are, they're all love and light because they don't want to deal with their darkness. And they have this idea about themselves where they're so good that they can't confront anything that contradicts this persona, the spiritual persona that they've created, which again is out of wounding. And they're actually being exploited by entities, religious spirits, trying to get them bound into a certain timeline so they don't rise all the way. But you can tell that they're operating through even some of these people who come across as being very, nice. You can tell by your visceral response to the energy. Because they will always, this is what I'm noticing, they will always let it slip, even if it's just with one word. That one word that does something to you, pay attention to it. You're not crazy. Undo all of that fuckery that they tried to tell you about you being crazy. Undo it now. If you feel it, it's real. Okay? So you can tell that this is happening because your visceral response to the energy will be exactly the same as it was with one of your main karmic characters who they were when they used to taunt you. Or when they used to try to mind fuck you or gaslight you. The same way you felt in your body with those people will be exactly the same way you feel with that energy. Okay, and some of these entities are really smart, so let me put it all on the table tonight. Some of these entities will then come back at you because they will try to get a reaction out of you. And if you react, and it's fine if you do, for as long as you control, you are in authority over your own energy. Sometimes anger is necessary because they're trying to trap you in shame. Okay, let's go into the vibrational scale. Let's have a quick vibrational scale break. Some of these energies are trying to contract you to the lowest vibration, which is shame. They're trying to get you stuck in shame. So the appropriate thing to break out of that energy is to rise into anger and even pride. Because pride in its protective state is you asserting your anger because your value, your own sense of self-value or divine value, your own sense of value as a being is under threat. Okay? So it's okay to rise into anger and pride when there's an energy that's trying to lock you in shame. You don't stay in anger or pride. You rise in, it's called righteous anger. You rise in it enough to tell them about who they are and then make them go take several seats and then to go on with your life, and you rise all the way back into love, because ultimately that's what they're trying to keep you out of. They don't want you to rise back into love and into joy. And ultimately into enlightenment where you're able to see all. They don't want you in enlightenment. They don't want you in joy, love, joy, or peace. They want you stuck down here. They don't mind you being in anger if you get stuck there too. So the whole point of the vibrational scale is to utilize these energies to express and assert your own divinity, but you're supposed to stay up here most of the time. Okay? You're not supposed to stay stuck in anything here. Your natural resonance should be up here. Okay? So it's okay. But what these clever entities like to do, especially the religious ones, you know, the ones that know about spirituality and stuff, will then try to act as if you're an ego and as if they've triggered you and there's something wrong with you. You're not as spiritual, or you're not, you know, this or that. That's bullshit, because I just showed you on the vibrational scale, okay? But I also want to tell you, and this was such a fucking like light bulb moment for me when Spirit showed me this last week with a certain energy. The trigger at a certain point on your journey, when you are so discerning of self and something or somebody comes to trigger you, sometimes the trigger is a sign of an entity trying to get to you. I'm going to say that again. Sometimes when you've been on this journey for a while and you are so self-aware and self-discerning, when an energy comes in to trigger you, it is actually an opportunity for you to see if it's an entity. Because oftentimes at a certain level, when you're no longer in an emotionally reactive kind of state, because we are mostly emotionally reactive when we are in the lower vibrational energies. So if you react to something and you are a person who lives in love, joy, and peace, that actually, the trigger is the announcement of an entity. Yeah. They want to trigger you. They want to, especially these religious entities. They want to trigger you and then tell you or treat you like you're in your ego. Oh, you're just in your ego. I'm sorry I triggered you. I'm sorry you care so much. As if being in your ego is a bad thing when your ego is actually there to protect you. If your ego is activated at a certain phase when you've already brought your ego into submission, your ego is coming on board to protect you. Okay? That's what these entities don't want you to know. So for example, if you had a hypercritical, jealous, karmic mother who would steal or dim or try to control your light by way of constantly nitpicking at you, discrediting you, or finding fault, especially where there wasn't fault to be found, the same energy will start showing up through others you meet. It may be through their words or the feelings they elicit in you. Ultimately, though, so I'm going to say that again, it may be through their words. They may say something to you that holds the same energy or resonance of that, of the karmic mother that was in your life, who was actually under entity influence, right? It's the same entity operating through someone else. So it may be through their words, but it also may be through how you feel in their presence. I said this yesterday. Empaths, divine beings, we are emotional magicians. This is why they like to mentally program us so that we connect the emotions and we bring it into reality, because we are creator beings. We don't have to manipulate to create. These beings who only have mental magic have to manipulate to create, because they don't have that strong emotional resonance. That's why they wanted us bound, so they could use us in that way. That's why they wanted to constantly introduce these lower vibrational energies and states to us in order to keep that frequency alive on the planet, the fear-based frequency that they needed everyone in order to control. They used us. They use our emotional resonance by controlling our minds. It's Gemini season. It's time to unfuck yourself. Gemini energy is the magician and the lovers, the 8, 9, and 10 of swords. It's time to learn about all of your capabilities as a magician. It's time for you to come back into the garden. It's time for you to come back into divine alignment with your truth and to get back everything they tried to steal from you with the lover's energy. It's time to get your unions back. It's time to get it all back. But the battlefield you must go through is the 8, 9, and 10 of swords. You must get through all of the mental fuckery that tries to program you into states so that you create a reality from those mental programs that aren't your own. That's what this season is about. So ultimately, the design, what they're trying to do, these entities, what they're trying to do when they come into your energy through other beings, what they're trying to do is to recaptivate your mental energy. Get back into your head. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to pull you back into old ways of thinking about yourself that take you out of divine alignment. So for example, if you had a karmic mother like the one I described, you may have these energies that are coming at you. They could be male or they could be female. But in the energy itself, it will be very distorted feminine energy. And it will be very critical. And it will be crazy because it will try to find things. It will search for the wrong in what you do. And I can say that I've noticed it because I myself, I hold myself to a very high standard when it comes to how I deliver this information, because I know a lot is at stake. I know a lot is at stake because of what the mission that I have been entrusted with divinely. I know there is. And I try my best to be as clear as possible. This is why my videos are actually long, because I will come back to something again and I will repeat, because I want people to understand and overstand, but I also want to be able to relay the message in such a way that I don't offend a person who is in a very delicate phase of their ascension process. Because when we've been through some of the things that we've been through, sometimes messages like the ones I have to bring, they can come across almost as being like, oh my gosh, she's saying it's my fault. No, which is why I will always try to come back around and make it very clear what I mean. So when somebody comes into my energy and starts to tell me things like, you're not clear and blah, 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 I know, oh, wait a minute, that's not true. That's not true. And it's not that I'm perfect. It's just that I know that's not true. And I've had enough feedback at this point from the collective to know that that's not true. So I know you're just coming in here to try and get my goat to mess with my confidence levels. You get what I'm saying? And that's what the energy will do. It will try to get into your mind again, because there's a great video that I'm going to try to remember to link in the description box below. because I love how spirit works. When spirit starts to give you messages, you know, when the divine starts to speak to you about a certain thing, all of a sudden, all of the information starts to flood in. And so today on my timeline, my YouTube timeline, this random video came up. And this is a Christian lady, right? So I agree with the crux of what she's saying. I do. I really do. I haven't listened to any of her other stuff, but this video, she hit it right on, like the proverbial head. She got it. And she's talking about monitoring spirits. And I'm going to link it below, but suffice to say that she went in. She went in. And where was I with this? So, these strangers are coming. Oh, this is what I was going to say. This is why I brought her up. She said at some point in her video, she said, what you have to realize is that these entities, I forget what she calls them, maybe she called them demons. I think she probably called them demons. I'm not going to get into that. I talked about that in a video last week about demons. So I just go by entities or lower vibrational energies, or even devils. I prefer to call them the original word, which was devils. Like if you look into the etymology of demon, like there's a reason why they like us attaching certain energies to words, because it brings confusion. And I'm just going to say it. No, I'll say it because I don't want any confusion. So let me not bring any let me not allow room for lack of clarity to bring confusion. Demons mean beings of the lower planes. They can be beings that exist mostly on the earth plane, the 3D, and below. The demons that we hear about, where they're always talking about demons, are disobedient energies. Not all demons are disobedient. Not all of them operate either in like nice energy. But having said that, there's been a lot of fuckery in that world too, with them being bound and used against their own wishes to keep up the nefarious agendas of the Matrix. And the truth is that all beings have the right to ascend, and some of these that have been bound have been denied that opportunity to. I'm trying to see if they want me to go into that anymore. I don't think I'm going to go into that anymore. But, so I call them devils, entities, lower vibrational energies. That's why I call them that specifically. But she was speaking in her video about how these entities, they have an assignment on you from the time you've come into this planet. Some of them have assignments on you. They followed you across lifetimes. In other words, they know your soul. They know you. They know, they've studied you. You get what I'm saying? So they know exactly how to manipulate the energies within another person that they're not seeing in order to get the result they want. Okay? So I say all of that because the whole point of these entities operating through strangers, shapeshifting, right? Operating through strangers, is to get into your head and to make you think, oh my gosh, if it's coming from a stranger and they don't even know me, well, maybe what so-and-so said about me is actually, it's supposed to get you into that place where you begin to invest your time and energy into that thought, and you grow that mental energy to the point where it takes you into a worried state, and you hopefully begin to create emotionally from that energy, because there's a lot of emotional energy behind your karmic experiences, especially, you know, in family situations. There's a lot. And so they're looking to bank off of that high emotional charge that you likely still have to some extent, you know, but you have it under submission. There's a difference between, like I said, being emotionally reactive and being emotionally aware. You can't get rid of how you feel, but you can allow it to work for you instead of against you, right? So they can only harvest your energy For as long as you are living out of divine alignment, and therefore you're taking on false personas and matrix ID entities. They can only harvest your energy, in other words, for as long as you are not walking in truth. Because for as long as you are not walking in your divine, you can kind of see your true energy as a cloak. If you're not walking in your divine cloak, you've left the cloak somewhere and somebody else can take it. And that's what they want. At every turn, they want to divest you of your divine cloak. They want to take it so that they can go in and scuttle it off to somebody else who's pretending to be you. You know, all of that doppelganger energy that built the matrix. They're false stars. That's what it wants to do, because they've been contracted to them, and they are giving them sacrifices and everything for them to come and get your divine cloak. So at every turn, their job is to get you in low states so they can rob you. They must recontract you, or they must contract you to old versions of yourself. And bear in mind that these old versions of yourself have been carefully curated and put together by these entities operating through people. They know you so well because they created the narratives around all of your pain. They know you so well because they created all the narratives around your pain. So they must try to contract you back to the old version of self, the one that they created by the one that they, I don't want to say they created, the one that they influenced by way of the constant introduction of trauma and pain narratives and stories about you that created all of these personas that you then thought were you, right? So they must contract you to those versions of yourself, because for as long as you're living outside of your divine truth, and you're living in a persona created for you by an entity, a lower vibrational entity, ultimately that's what it is. For as long as you're living in that, you have abandoned your godhood. You've abandoned and everything that goes with it. And really what they want is, they don't want the godhood because they want to be beings of integrity. They want all of the wealth attached, the gifts, the talents, the power, the light, the codes. And then they distribute it to others who then rise in the matrix, pretending to be you. And you're drawn automatically to them because you're drawn to your true self. How fucked up is that? So they must get you to believe things about yourself that contradict the divine and cosmological reality of who you really are. They must get you to believe things about yourself that contradict the divine and cosmological reality of who you truly are. Because for as long as you believe that, your emotions follow. And because you have such strong emotional resonance, you begin to create a life from that place. And you create a lie about who you are. And that lie is supported by all of the karmic energies that these entities are also flowing through, right? And then the lie is supported so that your divine cloak can be taken and someone else can be exalted and called a star. Because you're a star. You're a true star seed, right? Or whatever label you want to give yourself. It's time to state your case before the highest judges and holders of universal law. So, you know, we hear a lot in the tarot community, especially of late, about calling karmic justice, right? The physical world is modeled after the spiritual realm. There's a legal system in the spiritual realm that the legal system in the physical realm has been modeled after. So if you get how you go before a judge and state your case and plead your innocence, some of you need to go and do that in the astral planes. You need to call upon your guides and your protectors and any archangelic assistants that you may work with. And you need to go before the highest judges and holders of universal and cosmological law and the balance, divine order. You need to go before them and say, I know who I am. I see that this has happened. I'm coming back to claim it all. So don't just call divine justice or divine order. Go back and get your stuff. Go get your fucking freedom papers. Okay? You have the right. You have a right. You have a right to the full authority over your own mental energy without manipulation, coercion, and agreements where you are not consciously consenting. So this is where they get you a lot of the time. They get you to consent to things unconsciously that then open up your energy to them. That actually is a loophole that they've tried that once it's exposed, they can't do. So some of you need to be stating this, you know, when you do your affirmations and when you go before these courts and you put that in your clause. I no longer will be held in contracts or covenants that I have not consciously consented to. And any energy that tries to come and unconsciously bind or contract me to something that I have not in this body consciously consented to after being clearly shown the terms and conditions, it is not valid. That contract, that covenant is not valid. Take back your consciousness. Take back your consciousness. Take it back from every contract and covenant where you have been tricked into giving fake consent in unconscious states, or tricked into giving consent because you either weren't given the terms and conditions or you failed to read the terms and conditions. So remember I said to you, one of the ways that they used to love to get us to give consent without knowing that's what we were doing is when they would do a working where they stole something from us. Energy, you must exchange one thing for another, otherwise you're at a deficit. So they didn't want to be in a debt to you. They didn't want to be in an energetic debt to you. So they would take your stuff spiritually and give you something physically or materially to ground in what it is they've done. And so your taking it was a sign that you were fine with what they did. Very sneaky. Very sneaky. Very sneaky. I have a warning though, okay? The warning is this, and this is mostly actually for these karmic energies that are way out of divine balance and they need to do a lot of work to come to, if they're going to ascend into divine order. And I say this because there are karmic energies right now that would want to go and take back their energy or think that they can go do what it is I'm saying and get a result. But let me tell you this, okay? When you go and you state this, right? You say that you want to take back your consciousness from every contract, covenant, blah, blah, blah. The things that you're aware of, you're not aware of, the things that maybe you signed yourself up for because you didn't know any better, or you were operating in woundedness, all of that stuff, right? You will still have to work through any karma or lessons that come in order for the fullness of the contracts or covenants to be fully nullified and annulled. In other words, and this really applies. This doesn't apply to situations where you were tricked into something by way of like not being consciously made aware. This really applies to people who consciously make a decision to do things to hurt others or personal gain. Okay? They will still have to deal with the karma. So even if they come, it is a step to putting themselves back in divine order, but they will still have to deal. You get what I'm saying? Especially if it was conscious, okay? If it was a conscious decision, but they failed to read the terms and conditions, or they were too drawn by the greed and what it was that they were going to get. And we're about to get into that energy too, because there was another download that came into this energy over the weekend for me. So I'll get into that in just a second. In other words, anyone can do this. Anyone can go to the highest courts and they can do this. But those beings who purposely hurt others for personal gain, it's not a magical solution. There always is a checks and balances system. That's where we get it from in the physical realm. So if you're a karmic person, or you've done a lot of fucked up shit and now you're looking for a magical solution to get out of the destruction you meant for others, you won't. You won't find any, there aren't loopholes. You will still have to deal. Your life will get better because you won't be adding more and more karma, but you'll still have to pay for what it is that you've done. Yeah? We are in, my guides are calling it die or ascend energy. And when I say die, I'm talking about spiritually. In other words, either be phased out of this world also, like through the end of lineages and all of that, your energy, who it is, there'll be no more legacy. In other words, you can choose that, or you can change and transform and ascend. That's where we are right now. There's no room for anything else. So now onto this energy. Maybe I will get into it. I don't know. Now onto this other download that came in. Okay, so I was seeing that someone tried to use a mirror, right? And I'm getting that this isn't something that happened recently. This is they're showing me an instance of how somebody tried to hack your divine resources. Okay, give me 1 second. And as I grab my tea, I see the 5 of Swords. Let me just turn these cards around. Ooh, Knight of Swords, Justice, 5 of Swords, 3 of Wands, and the Moon. Interesting. Anyway, maybe we'll get into cards after. I don't think so, though. There's so much stuff coming through. So someone tried to use a mirror, specifically to see what they would have by entering a deal that required selling you out. So in other words, they were before a practitioner or an order, group of practitioners, whatever. And they, how like in the fairy tales, they show you like a mirror on the wall and you can see into the mirror. It's kind of like you can then see what is happening, kind of like a screen. The mirror becomes like a screen. That's what I was kind of seeing. So what this person was shown by these practitioners was what they would get for selling you out. And this person was so drawn to the reflection or the what was playing on the mirror. They were so drawn and mesmerized by it that they gave you up easily, without a doubt. They didn't even have to think about it. But they failed to think with their spiritual minds because they're not connected in that way. They failed to think or to recognize or realize that mirrors are objects of illusion. Okay? So what they were shown was ultimately an illusion. And this is where they get a lot of people with, these dark practices and dark magic, and where they try to, manipulate energy for greed and selfish gain. They will show you what is possible, and they'll even begin to deliver it in the beginning. But they will deliver it in the beginning to rope you in all the more. Right? And then, all of a sudden, the sacrifices must come to maintain what it is that you've gotten by way of this magic with a C. So what they were showing me is that this person, whether it's a practitioner or whether it's a person working with a practitioner, for many of you, this was a family member that was coming through very strongly. Okay? The mirror has shattered to reveal the illusion to them, to reveal the illusion or the spell that they actually were under. It's shattered. Now, I don't know if that means that the mirror shattered for the practitioner, meaning that time is up, bitch. You're not doing this anymore to a divine being, or whether it means that, whether it's figurative. But I know they were showing me that the mirror has shattered. I'm just going to put this out here again. If the video has, if there's any fuckery, I'm not stopping recording. So if the tracking is off, then I invite you to just stop watching me and listen instead. Because again, it's distraction techniques. I'm noticing more and more, though, that it happens when I record on a Friday and a Saturday in the energies of Venus and Saturn, which is very interesting. My guides just showed me that this past weekend. So again, more confirmation about the Venusian and Saturnian energy. Those are two of the, and Mars energy is another one, but those are like two of the big time ones for certain societies. I also know this to be the case. So the mirror has shattered to reveal the illusion, to reveal that they were shown an illusion, right? So the illusion that they were shown was of their own grandiosity. Okay, the illusion of their own grandiosity, they were shown. So they were shown, in other words, in the mirror, they were given imagery or videos of them being exalted or having a certain talent or looking a certain way or getting certain things, etc. Right? The illusion of this that they were shown, it required for them to keep up that illusion, for them to keep up having these things or being this person in the world, they had to keep you in constant states of illusion to maintain the illusion they needed, the spell they needed to live in accordance with how they wanted. Okay? So in order to keep their spell alive, they had to keep you in constant states of illusion. Going back to what I said before, they had to keep you contracted to the entity agreements where the entities had created these false personas and narratives that they had carefully crafted for you throughout your whole life, through the people closest to you and the people who you met on your journey. It's a grand assignment they were on, right? They had to keep you in constant states of illusion about yourself to keep their spells alive and to therefore then have access to your talents, to have access, to their quote unquote talents, which really they took from you, to have the fame that they wanted, the riches, celebrity status even. I'm going to say that one more time. They had to keep you in constant states of illusion about yourself to keep their spell alive and have access to their so-called talents, fame, riches, and celebrity status. These beings have been gutted in the spirit realm. Gutted. And when I say gutted, what that means is that their lights have been turned off. They've been turned off. So now what it means in the physical is that for the rest of this lifetime, for most of them, not all of them, but for most of them, especially the ones who have been the worst perpetrators of this, they will be walking in darkness, in spiritual darkness. They will not find their way home. They will not find their way back to a light that no longer exists because they kept on stealing yours. You see, your light is part of your solar plexus. It's a hermit energy. It's a lamp she's holding. It's what leads you to your wheel of fortune. It's for you. It's not for someone else to take. And because they try to take yours. In the attempts to take yours instead of finding their own, not only have they now lost access to yours, to stealing from you anymore, they've lost access even to getting their own back. So they all had you under mind control. They all had you under mind control. Gemini energy is very much about mind control. Libra and Aquarius energy shows you the stages of how to get there through the minor arcana. So 2, 3, and 4 of swords is Libra energy. It shows you the strategies of how you can get someone under mind control. 5, 6, 7 shows you the 5, 6, 7 of swords is Aquarian energy. It shows you how to get that energy to grow. It shows you how to be a narcissist, really, is what it does. And I'm talking about the shadow energies of this. I'm not talking about Libras and Aquarius people in general. Although some of them will be in their shadow energy really good in these areas, right? In trying to manipulate people with words or with their mental energy, their thoughts, mind magic. But the swords energy shows you this, and Gemini, the 8, 9, 10 of swords, is a culmination of what all of that produces. So right now, while the sun is in Gemini, all of this is being illuminated because we have the opportunity to see it for what it is, and to break out of the cycle, to break out of the mind control once and for all. And we're going to be continually assisted with this because the last Mars retrograde was through Gemini, fighting for us, showing us these things in retrospect. And I believe when Mars goes into retrograde again, it will also be going back through Gemini. I don't know that for sure, but I think I saw that somewhere. So I could be wrong about that. But either way, the energies are supporting the exposure of all of these mind control tactics, okay? So they all had you under mind control, and you were mainly programmed in the spirit. Now, this was where it got real interesting because for the longest time, I've been trying to understand and overstand, even talking to friends. I've had some really great conversations with friends about how this is all possible and how much are people conscious and aware. And don't get me wrong, there are people who are very conscious, especially the ones that are in high degrees of some of these societies. They know exactly what they're doing in the sense that they may not have a full spiritual picture because they're not in tune and connected to the divine, but they do get how energy works, okay? But I was fascinated, like, how does this all work? Okay, so this is what they were saying to me. So you were mainly programmed in the spirit by way of certain practitioners and the entities they assign to you. So remember I said to you from the beginning, from the time you entered into the planet, you've had a divine assignment, but you've also had these entities that their assignment is to destroy you or to keep you out of your divine assignment. And some of these entities, like I said, some of you were assigned these entities like from the beginning of the Matrix, okay? And throughout every lifetime, different practitioners have enforced that energy through your karmic relationships and the things that people in like your family and bloodlines have opened you up to. They've opened these practitioners up to further be able to control your energy by utilizing these entities. I hope that this is making sense. So in other words, this is an accumulation. There are certain karmic energies that just keep on coming into your life. And really they're not energies so much as they are entities. And then also there are certain beings that like to entertain these entities and they follow you into this life too. You get what I'm saying? So anyway, you have been monitored. These are monitoring energies. You've been monitored by these energies for lifetimes. They've seen you fail. They've seen you succeed in your divine mission. You know, they've seen everywhere. They've seen every way you have succumbed to, not stepping into divine alignment. So they're very skilled and they know how to use other people and their wounds to get to you. So they were showing me that they've been also that energy has been further cemented into your reality through the exposure of your energy by other karmic characters, especially and specifically those who sign themselves up to these societies, orders, covens, corporations, where they take oaths and covenants that actually bind their bloodlines. I talked about that in previous readings, yeah? These practitioners would then give certain family members gifts to give you. They would give certain family members gifts to give you. Okay, let me go back here. These practitioners program you in the spirit to respond to certain subliminal cues or for something to occur when they give you something in the physical. Then they would give certain family members, sometimes knowingly or unknowingly, gifts to give you, specific sentences to say in your presence, songs to sing or play, and even scenarios designed to traumatize you. So you would split energetically and take on the mind control cue or alter ego that they needed you to take on as your own more easily. So think about it a little bit like hypnosis. If you can get someone in an unconscious state, you know, you've seen it, like you can, and it's exaggerated, right? How they, you know, like on shows where they hypnotize a person and they'll take them into a state of, you know, a brainwave, where they'll tell you that's what they've done in order to hypnotize them, where the person is not fully conscious, right? Not conscious enough to speak and to react like that. And in that, they'll program them, bark like a dog. Whenever you hear the bell, bark like a dog, right? And so they wake that person up, and then they ring the bell, and they'll be talking and talking, ring the bell, and they'll start barking like a dog. It's like that, but it's in the spirit. So they program you in the spirit to respond in certain ways to certain cues that they give to you in the physical. And they often will also do this through your dreamscape, through your dream time. So I mentioned the word alter ego. This is going to be important, okay? I'll get into it shortly. So these practitioners, they also programmed your watchers. So the very ones who come to them wanting certain things and therefore willing to sell you out for them or willing to sign contracts that ultimately open you up, the very ones they come to for that are also mind controlling them in the spirit to sometimes get them to do things that they're not even consciously aware of. So they also programmed your watchers, ops, or family members in the spirit to do, say, or enact things to cement in the mind control. So to really drive the mind control in, so a reality is created where it seems so normal to you that to question it makes you feel like you're crazy. That's kind of it, right? So it's supposed to cement in your mind the mind control and to normalize it and to keep the alters stable. So the alter ego would be established that they needed you to take on. Okay, so remember I said that these beings like to contract you to narratives and personas that they've crafted for you that they need you to take on so that they can steal your divine cloak. That's when they go into your energy and they create these alters or alter egos. I'm not going to get too into it. I've read about it like ages ago in terms of, you know, regular, you know, mind control, but funnily enough, I didn't retain any of that information. But not consciously at least, but when my guides started to come in and explain it to me about a year ago, it actually made more sense when they explained it to me than anything that I'd read and hadn't retained. But you taking on this alter ego, this false persona, this version of you where, you know, you're living way below your divine value because someone else is stealing your divine gifts and cloaking themselves. You're taking on this alter ego, or contracting yourself to these false personas and narratives they created for you to embody, is how they then steal your true treasures and divine resources and give them to others to cloak themselves in. So you're perpetuating this illusion. You're staying in these false personas. You're embodying this alter ego is what allows them to take your true treasures and divine resources and give them to others to cloak themselves in. It was just 2044 on my clock. Okay? So in certain orders and societies, you die and you take on a new energy, or what they call an alter ego. So you go through this whole ritual death experience. Even in Christianity, we kind of do it with baptism. You know, they say when you go into the water, the old you has died and the new you has been born again. And then you're a born again Christian, which is why many Christians argue against child baptism, because it's not free consent. That child does not have the ability to choose Christ. But that's a whole other story. So in certain orders, and remember, everything in the matrix is an inverse, and everything that these lower vibrational energies do is a mockery and a direct reflection of divine order and what we do divinely. Okay, so in certain orders and societies, they have these elaborate rituals where the ones who are becoming members, they die, right? And they take on a new energy or alter ego. So they abandon the self. So this is right where the danger happens, because they willingly abandon themselves to take on an energy. And once they abandon themselves and they keep on doing that, because they're doing it and they're actually they're consciously contracting themselves to these darker energies and entities, it's not like when we wake up and we see all the ways we betrayed self. It's not the same. It's more dire. You get what I'm saying? So they take on this new energy or alter ego. And the taking on of this is what gives them so the going through this ceremony of dying to the real version of you and taking on this alter ego, which most of them are not explained. They don't know how the process works. In the spirit, they know what they're going to get, but they don't really get energy and how everything is an exchange. So if you are getting rid of your old self and you're taking on a new alter ego, where is that coming from? They don't ask these questions. Where is it coming from? Right? So in certain orders and societies, you die and you take on a new energy or alter ego. And the taking on of this, the taking on of the alter ego, going through the ceremony and dying, is what then gives these people access to fame, celebrity, money, talent, access, wisdom, respect, etc. It's a spiritual black market, right? So they stole all of this. They stole all of these alter egos that they then, they die and then they become in their elaborate ceremonies and then they become famous. They stole all of this from the true keepers. From the true keepers. They did this by mind controlling them into taking on really low alter egos. So they mind controlled us into taking on really crappy alter egos. Probably some of their discarded ones. Or false personas that would then bind. One second. Okay, so that would then bind us out of our own divine resources and inheritance. So they did this. I'm going to say it again because that was I want it to be so clear. They did this by mind controlling us into taking on really low alter egos or false personas that would then bind us out of our true selves that they're cloaking themselves in, and therefore out of our own divine resources and inheritance. So there are famous people running around with your voice, your charisma, your wisdom, your talent, your gifts, your creativity, etc. Okay? So this Gemini season is always about resecuring their hold on your minds so they can continue to cloak themselves in your energy. One second. Okay, yeah. And they even, to this extent, they even will introduce new variables, stimuli, events, etc., in physical real-time as well as in the spirit, that are designed to implant unaliving mental energies. Okay? That's why the 8, 9, 10 of Swords is also very much connected to that energy too. So they like keeping us also, this is just a side note that my guides were showing me, they like keeping us in mental wards or on certain substances so they can limit our consciousness and keep harvesting. Because what you need to understand and overstand is that they need you in a limited consciousness to take on a lower alter ego. And this is why when they take on the alter egos, right, that they have taken, they act as if they know so much more than you, because they do have a higher sense of consciousness, but it's been stolen from you. You get what I'm saying? So they do have a secret knowledge, but you are actually, they have bits and pieces of it when you are actually the holder of the whole thing, and all you have to do is reconnect with source and your own energy and break the mind control programs and the spells, and you have full access to all that information anyway. A lot of these people, especially if they were in your life, they love, the main ones that were stealing from you, they love to take from you and then flaunt it in your face on purpose in order to cast envy spells. So it would seem they wanted you to be envious of them. But really, they were actually flaunting your energy in your face. And it's the same with a lot of the celebrity. They like to make you feel envious of them. Like, oh, we want to be like you, or to admire them so much that you put them on a pedestal, when really... Anyway. This is a little bit, this is a continuation of the energy, but a little bit different. They were talking to me about gatekeepers. Gatekeepers, the ones who call people into these energies, into these orders, these societies, these cults, these covens, these groups. So they are the ones who are often the most ruthless and the most wounded. So these are the ones that do the most ruthless things in order to keep these things secret, right? And they prey on people who are really wounded for these positions. Because these are the ones who become the gatekeepers, are the ones who want so badly to be admired and respected and envied because of their own childhood wounds and deficits. So they do some of the most heinous shit in order to get to that state and to maintain it, including getting rid of those who would try to unmask the truth of who they are. They bring those in who are vulnerable too. So the gatekeepers, once upon a time, were super vulnerable, and then they do more and more things to sear their own conscience. You sear your own conscience by continually committing heinous acts against others and ultimately yourself too, without conscience. And the more you act against your conscience, which is your natural barometer for telling you innately what is right or wrong, the more you do that, the more you silence it. And that's dangerous. So they bring those in who are also vulnerable and who also have childhood wounds and want to be seen, admired, respected, envied, blah, blah, blah. And they show them what is possible, right? By doing these things spiritually. So they show them what needs to be done, and they then protect the gates, and the gates being entry into these groups fiercely, and they destroy any defectors or those who would seek to get out or expose them. The only way out, what my guides were showing me, one of the only ways out at a certain level is a fake death ritual. So the way into these orders, societies, in order to then be able to contract and get your things, the way in is the fake death ritual in private, just in their group, where they then take on the alter ego that then opens them up to a different world. And really the different world they're opening themselves up into is where they've taken all of your resources from other dimensions and have brought it into this world and pretended it's theirs. The only way out is a fake death ritual that is publicized and published as if it is real before the masses. To stay and maintain membership in these groups requires death rituals and sacrifices, because the entities that they have contracted themselves to must be paid. They must be paid to do what it is they're doing to keep you mind controlled. And so the only way to pay these entities to continue working on you, it's okay. To continue working on you is to give them sacrifices. Death rituals, sacrifices. Sometimes these are physical, Sometimes, it's an animal representation, so sometimes it is a physical, Oftentimes it's mental and emotional sacrifices through the trauma they put you through. And it's always spiritual. It's always enacted on the spiritual planes first, as above, so below. But whether they do it on the mental, then they enact it on the mental and the emotional planes, and the ones who get to a certain height will do things physically too. But it's always spiritual. They will always bind you spiritually. When they're trying to achieve these things, they will always program you in spirit. So to that extent, there are also these fake unions that occur in the spotlight that are designed to accrue a lot of the masses' energy and attention. We pay attention, it's energy, right? And these fake unions are designed to steal, again, more divine resources, but this time from divine unions. Everything's an inverse, remember? So the point is to get the public obsessed with these fake ideas of love. So that energy then grows their ritual and their intention, which oftentimes was to stop divine unions. So pay attention to couples in the spotlight, baby announcements, etc. Pay attention to that. Because the whole media system is ultimately designed to broadcast and grow this energy. And it's also why they thought they were stronger than us. Because how can we come against something like that, right? How can we come against their man-made, energetic controls, or their devilish schemes, because they've worked with lower resonating energies. How can we come against that? Because we are the all. We are the once we alchemize and we own the fullness of our dark and our light, it's over. We have it all. And they only have the dark, with no ability to reaccess their sun. So they're out of balance. Just like the love and lighters, many of them who are out of balance too, because they're not, that you need the balance of both. The balance of both is where the power is, not the over focus on one. So be aware right now in these attempts to reaccess your mental energy, because the whole point of what they're always trying to do is to lock you in a lower timeline, lock you in a version of yourself that no longer exists, lock you in a time that takes you out of where you are supposed to be divinely, because they're still working, like their delay tactics are still there. So pay attention to any dreams you're having about exes or old friends and people from your past who you haven't seen or spoken to in a while, okay? Because they're trying to set you back, stagnate you, and put you in an old timeline. So pay attention, especially when you are dealing with, if in a dream you dream about one of these characters, you know, an ex, someone you haven't seen in a while, think about the last timeline you were in with them. Think about where you were as a being developing, because that's where they're trying to take you back to. Think about what was happening. That's what they're trying to take you back to. And right now, the main assault is actually to divine unions. So the people that they try to connect you to in dreams are people who were there to put karmic blocks between you and your divine partner, divine counterpart. So they're trying to set you back into that timeline, energetically speaking, so that you don't connect with your divine partner. And even if you connect with them, even if you are like married to the person, it doesn't matter, because we're dealing with energy and frequency. And there are some barriers, energetic barriers, you cannot cross until you break out of them. In other words, if I go to someone who has been mentally programmed into believing something, and I try to share them something that's so far out of their grasp of what they think is possible, we won't connect. There'll be a disconnect. There will either be extreme resistance on their part to the point of aggression, or there'll be like, I just don't get what you're saying. That's the frequency disconnect. It's a frequency fence. I've spoken about this before. It's a frequency fence. And so you can be with a person and have this separation in energy because you're not on the same timeline or the same frequency, because there's been some kind of energetic fuckery. This is what they're trying to do. Pay attention not only to your dreams, but even running into people who you knew were karmic obstructions, or you knew were monitoring spirits operating to keep you and your divine partner apart. Because what's happening is very interesting right now. A lot of those characters, they will come into your reality because you are bringing them karmic justice. They don't realize it, but the time of whatever spell they try to run on you is actually up. And so the same way a spell enters is the same way a spell must leave. So sometimes they come into your reality and it's like the divine's way of showing you, yep, that energy that they tried to use, it's past its sell-by date now, which means now it's coming back for them. But also be aware, because either way, it doesn't matter if that's what's happening. It doesn't change what people are still trying to do. So you need to know it from all angles. You need to know you're divinely protected and you're okay, but you also need to know what people's strategies are, or what not people even, but the strategies of these entities are. because ultimately they're trying to get you into a timeline of disunity so you can't come into divine union. So pay a special attention when you have these dreams also, if these exes, friends, people from your past, if they show up in your dreams, pay special attention if there are any other noteworthy or celebrated public people, public figures in your dream too. Pay attention, because what they're doing in the spirit can no longer be cloaked. It can no longer be cloaked. So they're showing you who needs you stuck and why, who needs your union stuck. I hope that makes sense. So for those of you who've had karmic family members who you know were trying to get between you and your divine partner in really nefarious ways, some of these karmic family members, it's because they were contracting your energy to a group that either they were then cloaking themselves in your energy, the karmic family member, or they were giving access to others to rampage your divine resources. And sometimes it's all the above. They were cloaking themselves in it. They were giving access to other energies to do it. I think that's all I have. Yes. This finished a lot sooner than I thought it was going to. I thought this was going to be like, ooh, oh, look at this, look at this. I just found a random card on top of this book, and it's separate from the deck. The deck is on the desk, and this card was on the box. I'm just like, why is this card here? I pick it up. What is it? What is it, y'all? It's Gabriel blowing his horn. And it's her showing her whole ass as she walks into the energies of the world. Because that cycle, that bullshit, that Saturnian fuckery and stuckness and stagnation is over. It's over. It's over. I will go into, maybe I'll go into the Abundance Angels deck. And I'll get you a card. Let's see what other messages Spirit is going to bring through. Sorry, I just want to clear the energy a bit. I have a tiny bit of charcoal left. Oop. Conscious consumer, quiet retreat. So at the bottom we have quiet retreat. It's time to disconnect from the outer world so that you can discern and process your true thoughts and feelings in your own inner world. Create this quiet time for yourself and you'll have more clarity about what to do next. Quiet retreat is at the bottom. What actually came out is conscious consumer. You have the power to heal and help the world with your decision to buy only products and services that are ethical and environmentally friendly. As a conscious consumer, you choose to invest in fair trade and organic goods. You live simply and you purchase only that which you need. Okay, so this is a little bit ideal for one thing, because we're all transitioning at this place, so we do our best. We just do our best with what it is that we have, with the knowledge and the wisdom we have and the resources. That can be, the conscious consumer thing can be a bit of a trap, because some people think that just by doing these things it's enough, and it's not. You have to actually change your heart about the world too, not just change how you buy things, because many people do that as another false spiritual persona. But anyway, what I'm getting here is that it's kind of what we've already been talking about in yesterday's message, and even to do with the message today. And that is that just be very discerning about what are your own true thoughts and feelings versus those that are other beings entities, factions, what they're trying to implant in you to get you to contract to the old narrative or the low alter ego, get you to divest of your divine cloak. Conscious consumer is really speaking to me more than anything about what you consume. Consume in every area, what you're taking in with your eyes, what you're taking, like even what you're eating, is what you're taking, everything, what you take into your ears, everything is a gate, right? What you take in with your eyes, like if you're watching things that are in contradiction with who you are in your soul, right? You are inviting things in. You just have to be aware that every time you are full of gates, energetically speaking. Be very aware of what you're letting into your gates. Be aware of what you're watching. Be aware of what you're listening to. Be aware of the stories that you're allowing to be repeated to you. I talked about that yesterday. You know, the stories that are being repeated to you outside of self, but also the stories that you are repeating to yourself internally, and therefore creating a narrative from that place that isn't in alignment with who you are. Be very, very aware right now of what is coming in, because there's a lot that's fighting to come in, and it's fighting to come in very sneaky ways. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up now. I hope that this reading was helpful, or the downloads were helpful and insightful. I wish you guys love, joy, peace, abundance, harmony, vitality, prosperity, clarity, focus, stability, every beautiful thing under the sun that is already your divine birthright. Yes, and claim those as your birthrights when something or someone tries to come in to steal that. When someone comes in to steal your peace, you know, take it back. It's divinely yours. Take it to the courts if you have to, you know, the galactic courts. It's divinely yours. It's your birthright. Peace. You get it? Like, if you don't stand up for yourself and what is divinely yours, then you open yourself up for other beings to sneak around and to take it. This is why it's so important to know thyself, know who the fuck you are. Because when you know who you are and you know your worth, then you call it all back. And you know when something's being taken. Because you know who you are and how that should look in the physical. So go and fight for yourself now, in the heavenlies, in the astral, even just like in your day-to-day. Speak it, declare it, command your own energy, and take it back. Take back your consciousness. Okay, I'm all done now for sure. If you would like to work with me, my website information is below with all of my services. You can then send me an email, either through my contact page on my website or through the email addresses provided in the description box below. I do not take any orders through my website. You have to come to me first, so I can then decide if I'm going to move forward in working with you. And that's for everything: tarot astrology reports, mentoring sessions, smaller services, okay? I do not right now do readings. I have not offered personal readings in a while. Everything I do is geared towards helping you to move forward. And as such, I find a lot of the time with reading formats, it's people just wanting to hear the same story but not really get the tools. So for that reason, I prefer to do mentoring. You come to me, we sit down, we talk about what you're going through, and I help you find the solutions for where you are right then and there on your journey, what's going to help you to move to the next step. That's what I prefer to do, okay? So I say that because people have been contacting me about readings, and I don't really do readings like that. I use cards and everything to assist, but I mainly utilize the power of what it is that I already know about spirituality, okay? So What else? If you would like to donate to the channel, my Cash App and my PayPal are both below, or if you'd like to donate a deck, my wish list is also in the description box below. Thank you to all of you who have done so already. I truly, truly do appreciate all the ways you sow into me, whether it's monetarily or whether it's through your encouragement or whether it's through, you know, you're taking the things that I've learned and bettering yourselves and the world. That's all a way to appreciate the value that I give you. Okay, so what else? I think that's it. Oh, the Sacred Bathing Manual and the audiobook are both available. They are available together as a bundle for £11.11. So if you're interested in getting either the book or the audiobook, the manual or the audiobook or the bundle, please do shoot me an email, okay? There's also information about that on the community board, okay? So I'll see you guys again soon. Until next time, be well.